Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. We got a great fun one for you today. I've got a parallax section down here. There it is coming in there. Got a little Android robot coming in from the left side and a little call to action popping in on the right side there. And that's really eye-catching. Let's just do that again. If we go the other way, it's going to slide out back. It's a sort of 3D parallax effect. Really going to get people's attention. Stuff like this happens. Now it's a really smooth effect. I don't know if my screen recording software might make it look a little glitchy, but that's actually really smooth. Really easy to do. No coding involved in this today at all. And we're using the inbuilt Divi scroll effects. A lot of people don't tend to use, but you can get some amazing things going. So here it is one more time. Let's get started. I'm going to enable the visual builder. And let's roll down. And we'll delete this section. We'll start from scratch. Blue tab for a section. I'm going to hit the little blue button by clicking on any section. Little blue button to add a new section right there. I'm going to use a regular section. In mine, I'm going to use 2 columns. Obviously, use as many or as few as you want. In the left one, I'm going to put a little image module. And we can click on the placeholder to add an image. And I've got a PNG file here with no background of this little Android fella. Or lady, or whatever it is. There it is right there. Great, I'm going to leave that just like it is for a moment. Then on the right hand side here, I'm going to add a little call to action. There's the call to action module. Button's not going to show up until we put a link in for it. Obviously, put what you want it to say here. Put what you want your content to say here. Of course, you'll have real content. Like I say, the button's not going to show up till we put a link in it. Just down below is the link. Put any link where you want to take to people with your button there. Obviously, if you're linking to your own site, keep it in the same window. But best practice, if you're linking to somebody else's site, open it in a new tab. That way your site's going to stay open. Great. Well, I'm going to leave that just like that too. Now I'm going to go up into my section here, the blue tab for the section. I'm going to add a background image. You always find background under content on all sections, rows and modules. Third tab along, this background image. I click on the plus. Let's throw an image in there. I'll use the same one as I used before. Fantastic. And it's put that image in the background for us there. And at the moment, it's pretty static. As you can see, you just got that crazy image right there. We've got our call to action and our regular background there. I want to use a parallax effect on this today. And parallax means it's going to move at a different rate of the front of the site. If we just roll down a little bit, I can hit the little switch, use parallax effect, turn it to on. We're using what they call true parallax there, which is the background's going to move, but it's actually moving just at a different rate from a foreground there, which is what I'm going to use today. And that's a really nice effect. But we've also got what they call CSS parallax, which is also known as fixed background. Now when I roll up and down, that background stays absolutely static right there, and the front of the site rolls over the top of it. Really dramatic. I'm going to use the true parallax for mine today. Great. So we've got our background in there. It's doing what we want. Let's go back into our image and call to action now and make them do what we want them to do. So our image, I want it to be sitting on the bottom really. I want it to be a lot bigger. I want it to roll in from the left hand side. And we'll do that roll in animation in a moment. Let's just get it the way we want it. So I'm going to go into the image itself. You may notice while I'm hovering over an image, this crazy number comes up there, or alphanumeric. It's an AI generated image from Night Cafe, and that's just the name it's given it. If you don't want that to appear, or if you want to change it to something more pertinent, go into your image. You can go over to Advanced and Attributes. There's that crazy alphanumeric number there. You can either delete it or write in whatever it is that's more appropriate to you. I think I'll have nothing there at all. Great, and I want to make this a lot bigger. So I'm going to use scale for that. If we go to design now, we can go down to our transform. First little tab here is transform scale, which means get bigger or smaller. I'm going to drag it up to, probably about twice the size. Obviously adjust to taste. I think that'll do, that's close enough. And I want it to be sitting on the bottom. when we had no scaling on there, it was sort of floating in the middle. To make sure it's sitting on the bottom, still in the design tab, if we go to spacing, there's a little switch there that says show space below the image. Switch it from yes to no, and that'll be sitting on the bottom at all times, which is great. Cake looks kind of interesting, but it's not what I want. What we need to do is to go into our section and hide any overflow. In other words, anything above this line and below this line will not be seen. So let's save our image settings here. Go back into the section, blue tab. If we go over to advanced and visibility, here's our horizontal and vertical overflow. I'm going to change both of these to hidden, and it makes it disappear back into the section there. Now you may see some bleed out on the back end here when the builder is available. If you hover over it, it may pop out. But on the front end, once we've saved, it'll always be contained within the section like that. Great. Let's save that. Let's go into our little call to action and make it the way we want it here. Dark tab for the module. Want a bit more space on the bottom of it. I'm going to change the actual font type of our title there. But while we're here, let's go down to the bottom here. Background. I'm going to change that to a black. I'm going to click on the field. I'm going to pull this opacity slider down so we can see a lot of the image through there. It's just got a hint of that black on there. That's great. And it looks like I may want to add a bit of margin or something on the bottom to make it more central there. So in design, let's go down to spacing. We'll use a bit of margin on the bottom. Let's try 50 pixels and see what that does. Not quite. Let's up that to about 80. That looks fairly central to me. Obviously adjust to taste. Our little Android's still sitting on the bottom there. Perfect. I'm going to hit the little pencil associated with my title there, and I'm going to change it for a font I've been using called Anton. H2 is okay. I'm going to use this font up in my recents there. I'll find the Anton. To audition a font, just simply go in there. There's plenty to choose from. Roll over it. It'll give you an example of that font. I'm happy with my Anton there. Just make it a little bit bigger. I'll roll it down. Let's make it, say, 36 pixels. And just to make it stand out a little bit more, I'm going to give it a bit of box shadow. And as we're dealing with tech here, I'm going to make that box shadow blue. Or I should say text shadow. There it is. I've chosen that one. I'm just going to go down, choose the blue color. As you can see, it's got a little blue hue around it. And you can experiment, use different ones on these, whatever tends to work best for you. I'm going to leave the content just as it is. And I'm going to leave the button just as it is. I'm going to put a bit of border and a bit of a glow behind this one too, and round off those corners. So to do that, still in design, let's go down to our border. Here are the rounded corners. If this is checked, it'll do all four at once. Let's give it, say, 30 pixels. In fact, let's up that to 50 pixels. It's fairly rounded there. Now I'll give it a border so you can see it a bit better. I'm going to do all four sides. I'm going to make it 1 pixel. I'm going to make it white in color. There, you can see that a bit better. And let's give it that little blue or glow all round by using a bit of box shadow below. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use that same blue color. Gives it that sort of glowy effect. Great. Well, we've got everything in place there. But like I say, when this scrolls, I want the parallax effect. I want the Android to float in from the left-hand side. And I want this one to fade in, probably when it gets up to about here on the screen. So let's make that happen. So let's go back into our little Android lady or man right here. And we'll enable the animation. I'm going to go over to advanced. We've got scroll effects down the bottom. Second one along is horizontal motion. I'm going to start with that so we can pull it in from the left-hand side there. I'm going to hit the little switch to enable it. Gives us a little timeline. We've got viewport bottom is the bottom of the screen, obviously. Viewport top is the top of the screen. When it starts out, it's going over to the right there. I want it to go all the way to the left. So to make that happen, we can give it a negative value. I think I used -7 before. There we go. Now at the bottom of the screen, it's actually off screen. We just see our nice little parallax section. Then when it rolls in, it's almost right, but I don't want it to go back on itself like that. I want it to stay at our original position when it gets about 70% up the screen. So what I'm going to do is going to move my middle slide up to about 70%. And I want it to be in the regular position, which is 0 right there. So now when we scroll up, it's going to go to the original position. But if I leave it like this, it's still going to go back on itself when we go up higher. Now, it's fine if that's what you want, but I want it to stay in the same place. So all we need to do is change the viewport top to a 0. Perfect. Now we've got that figured out, but I also want it to grow when it comes in, or shrink actually. I want it to start off smaller and then get bigger as it's coming in. So almost like it's coming towards you. So if we roll back up, our fourth one across here is scaling up and down. Again, we need to hit the switch to turn it on. And let's have a look. I want it to start off a lot smaller, maybe 20% of its original size. But I don't really want it to grow to the normal size, 100% there, until it's about 70% up the screen. That's what we used in the last one. I'm just kind of matching it. That's working, but we've got a little problem there, that it's actually floating in the air as it comes in there. So I need to use a bit of translate to pull it down a little bit. That's our first one right there, vertical motion. You can switch the switch on for that. There we go. See, that's doing too much. I don't want it to be, I want it to be in normal position at the top, normal position at 70%. It's coming in from the bottom there. That's actually going to work for me. We can take this down a little less to 2. It'll just come up slightly from the bottom. Just make sure that it's not floating there. Perfect. He's going to zoom in over our parallax background there. Just what I want. Now to finish off, we're just going to animate this thing so it only comes in right at the end. So we get about here. So let's go into our call to action. Again, we're going to use our scroll effects for this, advanced scroll effects. I'm going to use the fade for this today. So let's hit the fade there. We'll turn it on. And start fading in and out. And as with all things Divi, if you want to adjust this for tablet and mobile, you can do it. It will work on tablet and mobile. Just go in there and adjust your settings for those devices there. Or if you want to, you can go to advanced and visibility. If you don't want to show this on tablet and phone, you can disable it by just checking these boxes here. So let's go back and we'll fade this and we're good to go. Back to our scroll effects. We're going to go to the fade. It's turned on. Here's our little timeline here. And really, I want this to be invisible all the way till it gets to, we'll say 60%, and it can fade in between 60 and 70%. So I'm going to move my middle marker up to 70%. It's going to be 100% visible, exactly what we want. But starting opacity is invisible, 0. I'm going to drag this up to, well, about 60, and it'll just fade in between 60 and 70% of the screen there. So if I roll down now, that's going to disappear. Roll up. We get to about 60%, it's going to start to fade in. Perfect, and it'll stay there. So we should be good to go. Let's just have a look at this without the module in the way. We roll down to the bottom. We've just got our little parallax section there. We've got our little Android fella rolling in, and don't worry about that overflow there. You will not see that on the front end. And then when we get up to the top, we got our nice little call to action popping in there. As you can see, no coding involved today. So let's save this, make sure it's all going to work on the front end. Save draft or publish if you're ready. And let's exit the Visual Builder. And here we are. We roll down. There's our parallax section. There's our little Android fella or lady there. And our little call to action rolling in at the top there. And like I say, this sort of thing happens on a site. It's really going to get people's attention, which is exactly what you want. And as you can see, really easy to do. You can come up with some fantastic things using these scroll effects if you want to spend a bit of time on it. And like I say, it really will get people's attention. So there we go, guys. There's how to create a parallax section with a 3D type animation. Really easy to do. Really great thing to have on your site. So I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. Don't forget, if you have any questions, pop them down below the video. I'll do my best to answer them for you, or make a little demo video like this one. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.